All right, ready to dive into web application testing?
Yeah.
You guys sent us some awesome material on this, and we're going to pull out the most important stuff for you.
Okay, sounds good.
We're looking at excerpts from Web Ugulamasa Testi, Kapsamla Bir Kılavuz.
Okay.
That's web application testing. A comprehensive guide. If you don't speak Turkish, like myself,
Right.
think of this as your crash course in making sure your website is ready for prime time.
For sure.
So whether you're about to launch a new site, you manage a dev team, or just curious about what goes on behind the scenes of the websites you use every day,
Yeah.
this one's for you.
It's amazing how much we rely on websites these days. Right?
Totally.
But most people don't even think about all the work that goes into making sure those websites are reliable,
Right.
easy to use, and secure.
Absolutely.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
This guide defines web testing as checking your web application for potential problems before it goes live.
Right.
Why is this so important?
Well, imagine launching a beautiful e-commerce site,
Okay.
but your customers can't complete their purchases because the checkout button doesn't work.
Oh, no.
That's a disaster, right?
Yeah, that's not good.
Thorough testing helps prevent those kinds of issues, which can lead to frustrated users, lost revenue,
Yeah.
and even damage to your reputation.
Ouch. Yeah, that's not a good look.
Not good.
It sounds like testing is about way more than just making sure a site looks pretty.
Exactly. It's about making sure it actually works the way it's supposed to for every single user.
Okay.
And in today's world where data breaches are becoming more and more common, security testing is absolutely crucial.
So, how do we tackle this beast? The guide breaks down web application testing into 8 main types, each with its own unique focus.
Yeah.
Let's walk through them.
Sounds good. First up is functionality testing.
Okay?
This is all about making sure all the nuts and bolts of your website are working correctly.
Okay.
Think of it like a quality control check for every link, every button, every form, every search function, every single element on your site.
So you're not just clicking around randomly, right?
Yeah, no,
There's
no,
a
no.
method to the madness.
Right. For example, with functionality testing,
Okay.
you also need to think about negative scenarios.
Interesting.
What happens when a user does something unexpected? Let's say you have a form with a required field.
Right.
What if someone tries to submit it without filling in that field? Does the website display a clear error message? Does it prevent the submission?
Oh, interesting.
Functionality testing covers all those bases.
It's almost like trying to break the website on purpose to find those weak spots.
Precisely. And it also involves testing more complex workflows like making a purchase or booking a flight.
Sure.
You need to make sure those multi-step processes work seamlessly from start to finish.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So after we've made sure everything works, how do we know if people actually enjoy using the website?
That's where usability testing comes in.
Okay.
It's about making sure the site is intuitive, easy to navigate, and enjoyable to use.
Sure.
You want people to find what they're looking for quickly and easily without getting frustrated.
Makes sense. But how do you actually test for that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Do you just ask your friends and family for their opinions?
While feedback from friends and family can be helpful for a
Mhm.
more comprehensive approach,
Right.
you'll want to involve real users from your target audience.
Of course. Yeah.
There are tools specifically designed for usability testing,
Oh, okay.
like Chalkmark,
okay.
which allows users to highlight specific areas of a web page that they find confusing or problematic,
Okay.
and Content Square, which tracks user behavior on your site, showing you things like where people click,
Wow.
how far they scroll, and where they tend to drop off.
So you can actually see how people are interacting with your
Yeah.
website in real time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Oh.
Okay, so we've covered functionality and usability.
Uh-huh.
What's next?
Next up is interface testing,
Okay.
and this one gets a little more technical. It focuses on how the different layers of your website, the application, the web server, and the database server
Okay.
interact with each other.
I'm already getting lost.
Okay,
Can you break that down a little?
sure.
Yeah.
Think of it like a restaurant.
Okay.
The application is like the waiter who takes your order.
Okay.
The web server is like the kitchen where the food is prepared.
Gotcha.
And the database server is like the pantry where all the ingredients are stored.
Okay.
Interface testing is about making sure all these different parts work together smoothly.
Yeah.
So your order gets taken correctly, the food is prepared as requested, and the final dish is delivered to your table without any hiccups.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So are we ready to eat yet, or is there more testing to be done?
Not quite. We still need to check the ingredients, right?
Yeah, right.
That's where database testing comes in.
Okay.
The database is the heart of your web application,
Yeah.
storing all the critical information like user data, product details, and content.
So we need to make sure all that data is accurate and secure.
Exactly.
Okay.
Database testing checks for things like data integrity, response times,
Uh-huh.
and the accurate display of information on the website.
Okay.
You want to make sure the data is stored securely, retrieved efficiently, and presented to users in a clear and understandable way.
All right, so we've got the functionality, the usability, the interface, and the database all covered.
Yeah.
Anything else?
You bet. We live in a world of diverse devices and platforms.
We do, yeah.
Compatibility testing ensures your website looks and functions correctly across different browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Edge.
Oh, yeah.
Different operating systems like Windows and Mac OS,
Uh-huh.
and even different mobile devices.
That sounds like a huge undertaking. I can't even imagine trying to test on every single device out there.
It would be impossible to test on every single device.
Yeah.
But you can strategically choose a representative sample based on your target audience and the most popular devices and browsers.
Oh.
The goal is to provide a consistent and enjoyable experience for everyone, no matter how they're accessing your website.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
So once we've confirmed everything is compatible, are we good to go?
Not so fast. We need to make sure your website can handle the heat when things get busy.
Oh.
That's where performance testing comes in.
Performance testing.
Yeah.
So like how fast the website loads?
That's part of it, but it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
Performance testing examines how your website behaves under different loads.
All right.
For example, if you're running an e-commerce site
Sure.
and you're expecting a big surge in traffic during a flash sale, you need to make sure your website can handle that influx of users without crashing or slowing down to a crawl.
Oh, I see. So it's about more than just speed.
Right.
It's about making sure the website can handle those high-pressure situations without buckling under the pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are different types of performance testing, like load testing,
Yeah.
which simulates a large number of users accessing the website simultaneously,
Right.
and stress testing, which pushes the website to its limits to see how it performs under extreme conditions.
So it's like a digital stress test for your
Yeah.
website, making sure it can handle the real-world demands of your users.
Exactly.
Okay, we're almost there. What's the last type of testing we need to cover?
Last but certainly not least is security testing.
Ooh, okay.
This one is absolutely critical,
Yeah.
especially for websites that handle sensitive user information like credit card details or personal data.
Okay, I'm all ears on this one.
Okay.
Data breaches are scary stuff.
Security testing is all about identifying vulnerabilities that could be exploited by malicious actors.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about testing for things like unauthorized access, data leaks, and injection flaws.
It was like hiring a team of ethical hackers to try and break into your website
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
and find those weak spots before the bad guys do.
That's a good way to think about it. There are a lot of different approaches to security testing,
Right.
and some of them do involve simulating real-world attacks to see how your website holds up.
And what about tools? Are there any specialized tools that can help with security testing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, your source material mentions a particularly interesting tool called Intruder.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that next.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we left off talking about security testing and a tool called Intruder.
Right.
What's so special about this tool?
Well, what's fascinating about Intruder
Okay.
is that it goes beyond basic vulnerability scanning.
Yeah.
Think of it as a digital detective that digs deep into your web application
Uh-huh.
and infrastructure, looking for those hidden weaknesses that could be exploited by attackers.
So it's not just about finding vulnerabilities.
Mm.
It's about understanding
Exactly.
how serious they are
Yeah.
and what kind of damage they could cause.
Precisely. Intruder boasts over 10,000 security checks, looking for everything from misconfigurations and outdated software to more complex application flaws.
Okay.
But what sets it apart is its ability to analyze and prioritize the findings.
So it helps you focus on fixing the most critical vulnerabilities first,
Yep,
which is essential when you're dealing with limited resources and time.
absolutely.
That sounds incredibly valuable,
It is.
especially for smaller companies that might not have a dedicated security team.
Right.
It's like having a virtual security expert on your side.
Yeah, exactly.
But how user-friendly is Intruder? Is it something anyone can use, or does it require specialized knowledge?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While Intruder has advanced features for seasoned security professionals,
Sure.
it's also designed with accessibility in mind.
Right.
Even if you're not a security expert, you can easily set it up and run your first scans
Okay.
without needing a deep understanding of all the technical details.
So it's a tool that can grow with you as your security knowledge expands.
Exactly.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Anything else we should know about Intruder before we move on?
One more thing.
Okay.
Intruder offers continuous monitoring,
Okay.
which means it's constantly on the lookout for new vulnerabilities.
So like 24/7.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like having a 24/7 security guard for your web application,
Gotcha.
keeping you one step ahead of the bad guys.
Okay. That's reassuring. So we've covered the 8 main types of web application testing.
We have.
Before we wrap up, I'm curious about the actual process of testing.
Yeah.
What are the different methodologies used, and how do you choose the right one for your project?
That's a key question.
Yeah.
The guide highlights 2 main approaches,
So-
manual testing and automated testing.
So manual testing is where humans actually go through the website and try to find problems.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a very hands-on approach where testers interact with the website just like a real user would.
Okay.
They click on links,
Yeah.
fill out forms, navigate through different pages, and look for any glitches, inconsistencies, or areas where the user experience could be improved.
It sounds like a very detailed and meticulous process.
It can be.
What are the main advantages of manual testing?
One of the biggest advantages is that it allows for a more subjective and nuanced evaluation of the website.
Okay.
Human testers can pick up on things that automated tools might miss,
Yeah.
like confusing language, inconsistent design elements,
Mhm.
or an overall flow that just doesn't feel right.
It's like having a real person
Yes.
representing your target audience,
exact.
going through the website and giving you their honest feedback.
Right.
That can be incredibly valuable.
It can.
And manual testing is also particularly useful
Yes.
for exploratory testing,
Right.
where you're not following a predefined script,
No.
but rather exploring the website
Yeah.
in a more free-form way to see what you can uncover.
Precisely.
So manual testing is all about human intuition and the ability to spot those subtle issues that might slip through the cracks. But it must have some downsides.
Of course.
Yeah.
The biggest drawback of manual testing is that it can be quite time-consuming and repetitive,
Yeah, that makes sense.
especially for large and complex websites.
Right.
It's also prone to human error,
Sure.
and it's not very scalable if you need to run tests frequently.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So that's where automated testing comes in.
precisely. Automated testing involves using software tools and scripts
Okay.
to execute predefined tests on the website.
Okay.
These tools can simulate user interactions,
Wow.
check specific functionalities,
Yeah.
and run through a large number of test cases much faster than a human tester ever could.
It sounds like a great way to speed up the testing process and make it more efficient.
Absolutely.
What are the main benefits of automated testing?
Well, automation is a game changer when it comes to regression testing,
Okay.
which is the process of retesting previously tested functionalities after code changes. Automated tests can quickly identify any regressions or new bugs introduced by those changes,
Okay.
saving you a ton of time and effort.
It's like having a safety net that catches those pesky bugs
Exactly.
before they make it to the live website.
Right.
And since automated tests can run 24/7, you can get feedback on your code changes much faster, which helps speed up the development cycle.
Exactly. Automated testing is also essential for performance and load testing,
Sure.
where you need to simulate thousands or even millions of users interacting with the website simultaneously.
Right, right.
Trying to do that manually would be a logistical nightmare.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's clear that automated testing has its place, especially for repetitive tasks,
Mm-hmm.
large-scale testing, and those performance-heavy scenarios.
Absolutely.
But it can't replace human testers entirely, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Automated testing is great for executing predefined tests,
Yeah.
but it's not as good at uncovering those subtle usability issues or exploring unexpected scenarios that a human tester might catch.
It's like the difference between following a recipe
Yeah,
and improvising in the kitchen.
I love that analogy.
Wow.
And remember, creating effective automated tests requires specialized skills and knowledge.
Right?
You need to be able to write scripts, understand different testing frameworks,
Yeah.
and troubleshoot any issues that might arise during the testing process.
So it's not just about setting it and forgetting it.
Right.
There's still a human element involved in setting up and maintaining those automated tests.
Absolutely.
And just like manual testing, automated testing has its own set of costs associated with it.
Yes.
You need to invest in the right tools,
Right.
train your team, and allocate time for test creation and maintenance.
Yeah. So it sounds like the ideal approach is often a combination of manual and automated testing,
Exactly.
leveraging the strengths of each to create a well-rounded testing strategy.
You hit the nail on the head.
How
It's
about
all about finding the right balance for your specific project needs,
Right.
budget, and timeline. Well, this has been incredibly insightful. We've covered the what, the why, and the how of web application testing.
Yeah, we have.
But there's one more piece I'm curious about.
Okay.
The guide mentions that web testing is an arduous process filled with challenges.
Right.
What kind of challenges are we talking about? And how can we overcome them?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
Web testing is not always a walk in the park.
right?
One of the biggest challenges is dealing with deadline pressure.
I can imagine that adds a lot of stress to the process.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
And then there's the challenge of keeping up with the constantly evolving technological landscape.
Oh, of course.
New tools, frameworks, and vulnerabilities are emerging all the time.
Wow.
So testers need to be constantly learning and adapting.
It sounds like you need to be a bit of a detective, a problem solver,
Yeah,
and a lifelong learner all rolled into one to be successful in this field.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always the challenge of communication and collaboration.
Oh, sure.
Testers need to work closely with developers,
Yeah.
designers, and other stakeholders to ensure everyone is on the same page
Right.
and working towards the same goal.
So effective communication and a strong team dynamic are essential
They
for
are.
navigating those choppy waters.
Absolutely. The guide offers some great advice for overcoming these challenges.
Okay.
It emphasizes the importance of meticulous planning, clear communication,
Yeah.
and realistic timelines.
So it's all about setting yourself up for success from the start
Exactly.
by anticipating those potential roadblocks
Right.
and having a plan in place to deal with them.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah.
There's a vibrant community of web testing professionals out there
Oh, awesome.
who are always willing to share their knowledge and experience.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of web application testing.
It has.
We've learned about the different types of testing,
Yeah.
the tools and methodologies involved, and even the challenges that testers face on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away, we need to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Stay tuned for the final part, where we'll synthesize all these insights and leave you with some thought-provoking questions to ponder. Welcome back to our deep dive into web application testing. It's been quite a journey.
It has been a whirlwind tour of this critical but often overlooked aspect of web development.
For sure.
But I think we've managed to pack a lot of valuable information.
I think so too. So as we wrap things up,
Okay.
what are the key takeaways you want our listener to walk away with?
If there's one overarching message I hope they've gleaned from this deep dive,
Yeah.
it's that web application testing is not a one-size-fits-all endeavor.
Okay.
It's a multifaceted process that requires careful planning, a strategic blend of methodologies, and a commitment to continuous learning and improvement.
It's almost like building a house, right?
Yeah.
You need a solid foundation of functionality testing to make sure everything works as intended, right? Then you need to add layers of usability testing to make sure it's user-friendly, security testing to make sure it's safe,
Right.
performance testing to make sure it can handle the traffic and so
Yeah.
on.
That's a great analogy. And just like building a house, web application testing requires a team of skilled professionals working together towards a common goal.
And it's not just about following a checklist or ticking boxes, right?
Yay.
It's about understanding the nuances of each testing type,
Yeah.
adapting your strategies to the specific project,
Mm-hmm.
and always striving for that perfect balance between thoroughness and efficiency.
Exactly. And while automation can certainly streamline certain aspects of testing, it's important to remember that human expertise is still essential.
Right. Those human testers bring critical thinking, creativity,
Right.
and empathy to the process.
Yeah.
They can anticipate potential user frustrations,
Yeah.
spot those subtle usability issues,
Absolutely.
and ultimately advocate for a better user experience.
Absolutely. And that brings me to a thought-provoking question I'd like to leave our listener with.
Okay.
How can we strike that perfect balance between human expertise and technological advancements in the ever-evolving world of web application testing?
That's a huge question to ponder.
It is.
And it highlights the fact that web application testing is not a static field.
Right.
It's constantly evolving as technology advances and user expectations change.
Precisely so. For anyone interested in pursuing a career in web testing, my advice is to embrace lifelong learning.
Okay.
Stay curious, stay adaptable, and never stop exploring new tools and techniques.
That's great advice. Well, I think we've covered just about everything we set out to cover in this deep dive.
I think so too.
We've explored the why, the what, and the how of web application testing.
We have.
And I hope we've given our listener a solid foundation to build upon.
I hope so too. And remember,
Yeah.
in the world of web applications, a well-tested website is a successful website.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into web application testing.
It was a pleasure being here.
We'll catch you next time for another exciting exploration into the realm of knowledge and discovery.